25 minutes longer today.
No, where's welcome for that?
Jesus, you're an idiot. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Question that I wanted to ask you was a discussion we had last week, and it was actually Nero had brought this up. What do you have to see from Square Enix at the next Fanfest to be reinvested in the game? Because you're not even paying a sub right now, are you?
No.
Yeah. So what's it gonna take to bring you back into the folds of Eorzea?
Oh gosh. All right. Well, what would take from Square Enix, and keep in mind I have no. I believe Square Enix will never do this.
Oh, right. No expectation. Right. It's not happening. But what would need to happen?
They would have to completely and utterly revamp the combat system. Not like 100% revamp it, but like, you know how like in World of Warcraft they would like change the talent system drastically, and then one expansion they even took it out and they implemented it back in. They'd have to do that on something of that scale to this game.
Okay,
and not the combat revamp that we had.
Wasn't a combat revamp.
That was fucking bullshit. That was stat redistribution. And Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft does that every expansion.
Yeah, it was a pruning of the ability bloat more than anything.
Yeah, and they got rid of
They just put it into like better animated bars. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like the stat adjustments where they added direct hit and took out accuracy.
Shit.
It was more of like a stat crunch than anything.
Yeah.
It was that. That does not count as a combat revamp. Square Enix, take notes.
So what? I mean, what is it about FF14's battle system that you would want to see revamped?
It's not necessarily like what specific things I want revamped. It would be Square Enix showing us that they are actually willing to take risks and wanting to change the game. Maybe it's not better this time, but just the fact that they want to just try to change something and make it new and fresh. Because right now, this is the stalest game ever because we know exactly how every combat's going to work out.
And you know, I can kind of see where you're coming from. And let me ask you this, because I feel like Eureka is sort of them attempting to do that, but is the reason that doesn't speak to you is because it feels like they've played it safe by being like, oh yeah, we're going to change a bunch of stuff, but put it in a bubble over here so it doesn't affect anything.
That-ish, but I don't feel like it even changed all that much. Like, it made monsters harder, kind of, ish, and it added this elemental wheel, which doesn't really do much. Like, you just make sure that your attacking is on the right one and you're defending if your healer is on the right one.
You don't even have to do that in the NM train, by the way.
Oh, you don't have to do that anymore?
No, I always forget.
So, pretty much now, yeah.
So, like, what's really changed about this thing?
Well, again, I'm going to go back to this. With a system like Eureka, this is where Square Enix could really benefit from a PTR. Because if you understand how your community is going to end up using the systems that you're implementing, I think that would give you an ability to course correct early on and not look like you're changing or nerfing the system after it's already out.
Yeah.
Because Square Enix is really gun shy about nerfing shit.
Yeah. Juxta, do you believe that during any of the internal testing that there were 164 people testing Eureka?
Maybe they had one, quote, stress test. One. Where they just had like everyone on board playing 14. Maybe. It's within their capabilities that they could have done that. I don't know if they actually did or not. Probably not.
Had they done that, though, even if it was for a week, 2 weeks, they might have realized, like, oh, it's easier to just basically everybody form up and just go from NM camp to NM camp to NM camp.
I mean, you guys like say they don't have any forethought, but what makes you think this isn't intended Square Enix, like this isn't what Square Enix intended for Eureka, is horrible NM trains? Because that's basically what hunts are, right? And they just kind of ported hunts into Eureka. I mean, I kind of feel like it's insulting Square Enix's intelligence.
Disingenuous on their part by saying, oh, we didn't intend this. We didn't mean for this to happen.
Have they even said that? Have they even said that they didn't intend for these hunt trains, or are we just assuming?
No, we're just assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we are.
I kind of think that Square Enix kind of planned for this to happen, so that way everyone kind of has, quote, easy, fast track to
Level
Eureka's
20?
end game.
I mean, maybe.
I guess it's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, it's hard to say, mostly because I don't know.
Because none of us are Square Enix employees.
Yeah, but and they've been guilty of that kind of laziness in the past.
Mm-hmm. It could go either way, in my opinion.
But don't you think if they did want something different out of the system, that a public test realm would be the easiest way to do that?
It would show them giant flaws in their plan,
right?
If they were flaws to begin with,
yeah.
if it wasn't already intended.
Okay, I guess that's fair. So, Juxta wants a completely different game.
Not completely different game, but like just have something that like makes our characters unique from one another with like different talents or abilities or something. Anything.
So you want a talent tree?
I mean, it doesn't have to be a talent tree, but if that's what Square Enix is going to give us for round one, then sure, give us a talent tree. So that my horrible Dark Knight is slightly underleveled than yours, but otherwise it's completely the same.
Right. I mean, I guess that's fair. You know, most other MMOs have some kind of binary option of like upgrading skills or, you know, added effects, added bonuses. There are different builds that you can go with inside of each class that you can make.
But the difference in other games, like World of Warcraft, if you're a rogue, that's it. You're a rogue. So I feel like they kind of have to give you sort of different playstyles and options. In FF14, you can be any class you want. If you don't like how your Dark Knight's playing, switch to a warrior tank.
But the problem with that is in Final Fantasy, your job identification is so much stronger, I feel, in Final Fantasy than in like World of Warcraft, because Nika is samurai / paladin. That's what she is.
That's who she is as like a person.
You are thief / ninja. That's who you are, Kahlo. I am red mage. Like, that job distinction is so strong that people will play their class even if it's the most fucking basic, boring ass shit in the world.
But here's what Square Enix is afraid of, though, is that they don't want a situation where they go, oh, you're what type of Dark Knight? You're what type of warrior? I don't want you in my party. There is a flaw in that logic, though, because that only applies at pretty much raid levels. And if that's only affecting
1%,
I'll be generous. Let's say 5%.
Ooh,
okay, I'll be generous. I'll be generous. If that only affects 5% of your population, is that a good idea? You know, I was thinking about this the other day. When was the last time you kicked somebody from a dungeon party?
Only when they're idiots.
Only when they have 1351 DPS as a Dark Knight.
Actually, the last time
1951.
The last time I remember actually kicking someone from a party, we were in it was a raid. I don't think it was before the raid roulette, so it must have been when we had the 3 parties. And as a joke, someone had initiated a vote to kick on Juxta.
That was Senpai,
and Senpai was the deciding vote and said yes. Kick him on the final boss.
And
that happened.
Good. Yeah, and he was right to do that. Here's the thing, though, is that there's really only like one of 2 valid reasons to kick somebody from a rando party that you queued from. Either they're being a mouthy idiot or they're being an actively bad player and fucking up the run for you, right? No one in the history of this game has gone, oh, I queued in with a Dark Knight tank, let's kick him. You know what I mean? Like that. The job combinations and party composition for 95% of this game does not matter in iota.
Yeah.
Remember when we did I don't think you were there, but I was on stream when I did it, and one of our peons had misheard what I told him to go as, and so we went in with 3 DPS and a healer, and we were fine.
You were fine.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you think about things like, oh well, having some kind of skill tree is going to impact people that don't pick the one standardized class, the best possible, path,
optimal path, maximum DPS,
that they're going to be discriminated against somehow, maybe at a raid level, maybe. And
only if people are actually parsing that raid, because you know how parsers are banned in this game.
Oh fuck! Well, why don't we get into that shit? Right?
We're already high and shit.
Because on Twitter, apparently somebody had posted a nude mod or something that